This Weird Road is intended for a mature audience. Listener discretion advised.
Hello, Midgard. This is Boli Thorn. Welcome to This Weird Road. This is my man, Ulf.
How you doing? As always, right here beside my hetero life mate. Nice to talk at you again, everyone.
We're coming to you this week discussing hospitality in our 9-part series on the nine noble virtues.
Sorry, his counting is so bad sometimes he can't even say numbers correctly.
You shut up. All right, so anyhow, speaking of which, you're in my home, so I shouldn't say things like, you shut up.
That's right, you have to be hospitable to me. But I have to be hospitable back, too.
I did give you food.
That is true, and I ate it.
You did. And I poisoned it. That's a lie. It was just already, it's pizza.
Rancid.
That's pizza. It's not necessarily good for you.
Right.
So I poisoned your arteries, I guess?
Yeah, it's for fun. Later I'll sit around and listen to him harden.
Yay!
But hospitality pretty much is what it sounds like.
Well, we want to get in early on our current event, which we tend to dance around most of the time. Last time we talked about how the Cheeto in charge bombed the crap out of Syria. And that's terrible. I disagree. It was a bad thing, and he should be strung up by his toenails through his throat.
His thumbnails?
Yeah, whatever. But that gave us the opportunity to talk about welcoming refugees as far as hospitality is concerned. I'm actually for not doing so, but that is mainly because I don't feel that one should risk their safety for the sake of hospitality.
But along with the refugee thing also goes the bans.
Yeah, well...
And I am not for those, I can say solidly. Because
those are being shot down by pretty much every federal judge that it lands in front of.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The refugee thing isn't as black and white for me. Because, lots of us have been refugees for various things and from various things. I have friends who, wouldn't be here if they weren't given asylum from, and friends of friends and such that wouldn't be here if they weren't given asylum as refugees from countries where they were in danger for things that over here we don't consider to be things worth killing people over.
Well, that's a pretty major point, is that, we don't consider a lot of this stuff to be so anger-inducing that we would kill someone over it. Mainly because I think if your religion requires you to kill people, you need a new religion.
Right, you need to reevaluate some things because something is forking wrong there. So why don't you? Let's get into that a little bit there, Boli. Why don't you agree with the refugee thing?
A lot of the media that I've seen with them coming into other countries, we're not looking at hordes of women and children. It is mostly capable men who, if they're being run from their country by war, should stand up for their country. I believe that these are people that defending your home is worth sacrificing yourself for, instead of running from.
Defending your home is worth sacrifice, but different refugees are coming at us right now from many different places for lots of different reasons.
Well, I'm speaking specifically of Syria.
The Syrian
refugees, which has been a huge topic, which kind of keeps getting underscored, much like DAPL and all this other stuff. These are important things, and yet we're all worried about Kardashian ass.
Right.
But we talked about Kanye last time, so I hate him.
I'm still with you on that.
So I feel that you have a lot of grown men who should be there fighting for their country. Instead, they're coming here, and in most places where the Syrian refugees have been accepted, their crime rates are shooting up. There's drastic increases in violent crime. And now this is going to happen anytime you have a large influx of people. More people means more crime. But I don't feel that that's an acceptable risk.
It happened
especially when there are better options.
It happened in our very own city when everything happened with Katrina in New Orleans. We were one of the cities that saw a pretty big influx of refugees from that city, and our crime rate increased too.
I was approached by an undead hooker. It was terrifying. She had one eye. I'm not joking. She smelled like death. And I was like, no, thanks. I intend to keep living. Bye. Later, Tater. You know.
Only you would have encountered the zombie apocalypse in hooker form, Boli.
I was waiting at the bus stop. It was nighttime.
Uh-huh.
She came up asking me if I wanted something of what she had. I'm like, no. Leprosy. I don't want that. Thank you. So you can 23 skidoo the hell out of here. And
like I said,
I was never so thankful to see a bus in all my life, is all I'm saying.
While I do understand your point of view of the capable men should stay and fight, we don't really know their reasons for leaving. And like I said, the refugee thing isn't that black and white to me.
Well, there are other options, though. I mean, I hate to step on you, but there are other options than sending them here. Even if you don't want to say, okay, stay in your country and defend it like you should be. If you want to say, okay, there was some, what was he, Saudi Arabian, like, quadrillionaire who, Bill Gates goes to this guy for loans, offered to buy an entire island from Greece, who is having financial problems, offered to buy an island from them to put refugees on so that they wouldn't be a danger to anyone else, but they would also be safe from the situation
and they
they're in.
And they kind of have their own land, their own place.
Well, it'd still be his, I think.
Yeah.
But the Grecian government turned him down. And I'm like, why? You need all of his money. He has all of his money. Take it, right? Kill a bunch of birds with that one stone. But they're not doing it.
Well, from his point of view, he's trying to show hospitality.
Right.
But from their point of view, it may be about losing some of their sovereignty. I can't say for sure why Greece said no. I'm not the Grecian government, but it may be at least, I would be willing to bet that at least in part it's about losing some of their sovereign land, and they don't feel like as much as they need money that they need it bad enough to lose some of their sovereignty. They could have
considered rented.
Renting an island. That's a novel concept, renting an island.
We're like, hey, you can have it for 10 years.
And it saddens me that somebody's so rich they could do that. It's more money than I'll ever dream about in my lifetime.
I don't know. I have some pretty big dreams. But anyhow,
it's true, you do.
That's irrelevant. He was trying to show hospitality. Many people think that we should show them that hospitality, but we have people here that we don't take care of.
Yeah, I do understand his concerns, and I definitely agree with that. We do need to, before we worry about stuff going on in other countries, fix what's wrong here at home. I've said that for years. We have homeless here. Hell, our own city just recently is passing laws that will harm the homeless and transients here instead of helping them. So,
quizzical look.
Well, I've seen signs in several places recently. Anti-panhandling signs, essentially don't feed the bums. It's not quite what it says. It's
right.
Panhandling, don't help. It hurts, don't help, or something like that.
Right.
And while some people, there are those, let's face it, of the transient population that want to drink their breakfast or whatever. But some of them do seriously want and need the help. So I don't think that's the right tactic to take with our transient population. There are ways to help our homeless not be homeless if we'd focus on it.
Was it?
And we want to focus on everybody else's problems and not our
Utah?
own.
In Utah, the governor had essentially donated all of the vacant houses, and they've gone through this whole process of making homes for homeless people, and it has done wonders for them, for their economy. That, for one, you have people now living in these empty houses, so they're being kept up.
Yeah, so the neighborhood's value has gone up.
So it's clearly not for everybody.
Right.
Not everyone is going to be benefited from it or by it.
Right. There's also, I don't know what city it is, but where a bunch of the tiny houses were built.
Yeah.
For a similar project.
That's being done
for the homeless population, and that's having a positive effect as well. So
it's being done in kind of a lot of places, but I like Utah's approach to it because it's taking product that's already there.
Yeah.
It's using
and
homes
revitalizing
that are there,
it.
and they're helping these people get homes and all this other stuff. And it was the statistic I read not too long ago said there is 6 abandoned homes for every homeless person. And that's not for every homeless family. That means every homeless child on the street could have 6 houses.
That's ludicrous.
It is. But, that's kind of off topic in that,
I don't know. It
the
relates
city,
to kindness
the
and
city is
hospitality.
being hospitable
Yeah.
in doing so. But as far as it connecting to the Syrian refugees,
well,
I'm still not a
it's
believer
still a current
that
topic though. So
yeah,
and it still relates to hospitality.
I still think that I think that we'd be putting ourselves at greater risk than is necessary. Risk is going to happen.
I do understand that there are risks involved, but it's hard to draw that line, for me at least, between risk and kindness. Where sometimes there unfortunately is a line there, but where do you draw it? And that's the tricky part.
Well, and we've talked about it before. Hospitality should not come to the detriment of your family, because that's who you owe frith to.
Right.
They are the ones that you have to take care of. So, me feeding you a pizza did not harm us in the slightest.
Right.
And if I was down to one pizza, I'd split it with you. But if you were a stranger off the street, I'd be a little less inclined to do so.
If you had only the one pizza.
Yeah. Oh, as I'm sitting right now, I'd give somebody a pizza. I'd cook it for them and take it outside to them.
Sure.
Because my kids are here. I wouldn't invite a stranger in.
Right, that's
but
just being careful and protecting your family.
I used to pick up hitchhikers.
Yeah,
all the time. Because I've been there, and it's kind and hospitable, but it's also dangerous to the person who's actually to both parties, really.
Well, again though, it's right there on that what I was saying. There's that line between caution, between being careful and being kind, and where do you draw that line?
And that line's going to be different places. Me being a woman, more likely to be victimized. There are people who are physically disabled who are going to be more likely to not be able to fight should something get physical.
Yeah.
Right.
So, the different circumstances draw the line in different places, I guess.
This isn't a popular opinion. My opinions usually aren't. But you, as a woman, or as a disabled individual, you have more outlets for help than the average guy. The average homeless person is, white males between, I think it's 35 and 60. This isn't a group that there's a lot of help for. And there's bandage kind of help. There's shelters that help them get through the night, but not that helps them.
On a gaping wound kind of thing.
But there's very little to help people stop being in that cycle.
Yeah, and to kind of keep on the current topic of the transient population, but also keep with, kindness and hospitality. A growing chunk of the homeless population is veterans.
Yeah.
And talk about, they showed us kind of the ultimate hospitality, fighting to defend everything we take for granted every day. And most of them are being pooped on, quite frankly, by society and the government. They're on the streets with, a lot of them with serious health or physical or mental health problems.
Right.
And no lifeline, when they should be the first people, in my opinion, we cast a lifeline to. after what they've done for us.
And that's who I'm talking about when I say that we need to help our own before extending this branch to outsiders. And it's not a xenophobia thing. It's you have to keep your own home straight before you can help anyone else.
Yeah, if you can't keep your own house in order, what example do you have to offer to others when they look to you and go, why should we accept your help,
The benefit to these organizations and funding help through organizations is that it offers you extra safety because they're not personally in your house with access to your children and your resources.
No, but it's a very thin line. Mm-hmm. I know you argued with me about, what was it, Norway, who was accepting a bunch of Muslim refugees, and they started making demands of the Norwegian government, not saying, hey, thanks for keeping us out of our war-torn area, but, oh, you've allowed us into our home. Now start building mosques where your former holy sites are.
I haven't seen your sources on that. I would like to.
Well, they're a few years old because they've stopped doing it because they're like, hey, we tried a thing and now it's not working.
Yeah, so it's a case of hospitality not being returned. As we were talking earlier, hospitality has to go both ways or should go both ways.
Yeah.
And in that case, sounds like the Norwegian government was being hospitable, and the people they let in, at least a vocal chunk of them, I'm sure not all of them, were not being hospitable in return. They weren't grateful for the hospitality. They were expecting more.
And at that point, they're demanding more than the country can safely give. So that's that line that you...
Yeah, that is definitely a line to draw. That is completely unfair. You can't ask more of someone than they're able to give, and a government can only give so much without detracting from its people, of which these refugees are technically now part. So, they're asking them to cut their own throats, per se, and you can't expect a country or a person to be willing to do that.
We're not hospitable as people anymore, period. Because
it's definitely declined.
Over and over, I see people seem to be truly, horrifically terrified that someone is going to get something they didn't.
Right. Well, I mean, that's the wrong view to take, but it's a solid thought in that if you're not receiving enough to take care of yourself, it shouldn't be given to other people who aren't paying taxes, who aren't helping in the community. When, we receive a lot of immigrants. I am definitely pro-immigration. We receive a lot of immigrants from India. You have people who come here with doctorates, who come in and are doctors.
Yeah.
Who contribute to the society that they're coming into.
That they're becoming a part of the new society they're becoming a part of.
And who acclimate in some way to the group that they're becoming a part of.
Right.
I feel that if you're choosing to immigrate to an area, you don't have to give up everything, but you should assimilate to where you're going. Instead of asking them to change their way of life, you should become part of their way of life.
Yeah, you're gonna have to make compromises,
Right.
To fit in, I guess, to fit into where you're going. I'm not sure that's
to not be a burden.
To not, yeah, there you go.
To be able to function.
Yeah.
To be a functioning, non-burdening part of society. Yeah.
So when you have people who want to come in and do basically the exact opposite, those are the people that you get to say, no, we don't have to be hospitable to you. I mean, it's even written in our Constitution that we don't have to accept soldiers into our homes. If war was happening right here and an American soldier came to my door, I wouldn't have to let him in. I wouldn't have to give him food or water or anything else.
And they can't take your resources.
Right.
Well, they're not supposed to. Yes.
So essentially the government, in taking in these refugees, is asking us to do exactly that, to give over resources. America has plenty of resources, but they are not allocated well.
No, they're not.
No, we
And
suck at allocating our
we
resources in this
have
country.
Plenty of people who need that help, who are here, who are already at least attempting to be contributing members of society, and
the thing
it's not working.
And the thing is, if we did the stuff to, as we say, get our house in order to allocate our resources correctly, get our homeless veterans and other homeless people taken care of and in better spots, it would then make it to where things would function better, and we could we'd be in a better spot to take in refugees from other places who needed help, because we wouldn't need help ourselves anymore.
Right.
So we could then extend our hands to help other people in better fashions. That's the part of this argument I do agree on, is we are not equipped enough to take in more people when we haven't fixed our own shit yet.
Well, if we weren't
sorry, the cursing has to fit in there. Sorry.
If we weren't currently fighting in other countries, if we weren't putting our noses where they didn't belong, we would already be better equipped.
Yeah, we would be.
We would have a lot more available to us.
If we weren't terrified of someone, that's the point. If people weren't scared that somebody else is going to get something that I'm going to get help and you didn't, then it wouldn't. I have the help. Or you need extra help. Of course, you should get it.
Right.
That is not where we are as a society, though.
I think it's a place we could get to as a society if we got some of our stuff in order. Like we said, I learned to allocate those resources.
Right.
And concentrated. This touches a little bit back on our last episode, actually. Concentrated less about ourselves and the me mentality, and more on helping our community. I really think we could do it. I think it's something that's achievable. Just not enough people want to put forth that effort and do it.
I think that it also comes with a mental shift in valuing hospitality.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, in valuing.
Well, again, because
able to share is.
Yeah, again, because it's the looking out for number one mentality so much. Hospitality isn't as valued. Mm-hmm. Now, here where we live, we may not see it as much, because hospitality, as we've touched on before, pretty big, even in the shallow south where we live. It's bred into us, but we see our share of inhospitable selfishness all the time too. So,
well, you guys have said, you've used the word share several times there, and it should be a sharing. You shouldn't give up your own entirely.
Right.
To give anybody anything.
No, you shouldn't.
It should be sharing.
Yeah, you need fed? Here, I have this loaf of bread. You can't have the whole loaf. I have other people I have to feed, including myself. But here's a part of it for you.
Right.
And there have been scientific studies that show that people who are lower income are also more
likely to share.
More likely to share.
Because they know what it's like to not have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's really what it comes down to. But in short, if someone's in your home, you should always offer them a drink. You should offer them whatever it is that you can give them that is basic comforts.
Yeah.
You never know what that person has gone through to get to that point.
Yeah, you never know another person's struggles.
And that's so, really, it should be done without expectation of it being returned. But the one thing you should expect is respect. And if someone is in your home using your resources and you are being hospitable to them and they are very obviously abusing that, you are in your right to say no more.
To say, okay, I can't be hospitable to you anymore.
This is where the line is. You're crossing it. You have to go.
I agree.
I think that really is the key point, is knowing where that line is. And once it becomes a detriment to you and your family is where you have to draw that line. And back to the refugees, that line is a lot harder to come across, because where is the detriment?
Yeah.
But the detriment is the higher risk. And I'm not going to be one of these Republicans who's like, our wives and our kids and blah, blah, blah. No, it's not about that. it's all of us are at greater risk when there's more people.
As a society.
When you live in an area with a higher concentration of people, you are more likely to run into an asshole. And it's the same thing between car crashes and plane crashes. There are more car crashes because there are more cars on the road than there are planes in the sky.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, and people are like, "Where's my flying car?" You don't want. Do you want some drunken asshole flying over your house instead of possibly just running into your yard?
Yeah, no kidding. But again, that's another, as we say a lot on here, that's another subject for another show.
Indeed. Speaking of which, we're going to have to bring this to a relatively quick...
It's time for us to
take a break. Yep.
Let you guys all go take pee breaks or whatever, and...
We'll be back as soon as possible. Later.
See you.
Portions of tonight's show were recorded earlier because we were ashamed to do it now.
Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? All those nights when you've got no lights, the check is in the mail, and your little angel hung the cat up by its tail, and your third fiancé didn't show. Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name. Roll out of bed, Mr. Coffee's dead. The morning's looking bright. And your shrink ran off to Europe and didn't even write. And your husband wants to be a girl. Be glad there's one place in the world where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna go where people know people are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name.
Nope. Sorry, Michael. No Jesus juice on Ulf and Boli, but you will find plenty of the mead of Mimir. Thanks for listening. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Boli Thorn.
I'm Ulf Hammerheart.
And we're coming back to finish our discussion on hospitality.
Or how to be nice to people.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or be nice to, for people to be nice to you is also the other end of hospitality.
Which is where we decided to go with the back half of the show.
Kind of to the back half of hospitality.
Yeah. How to receive hospitality without being a jerk.
Right, and when to know to rescind your hospitality, because there does, as we did touch on a little, there is a point where it's okay to say, all right, you're being inhospitable, I don't have to take this anymore. You only have to take so much.
I'm mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take it anymore.
A dated reference for any of the other old people that might be listening.
Which, our channel has 6 subscribers.
Woohoo!
So that means we have at least 2 listeners. Anyhow.
We hope we're bad at the math.
He is. I have a doctorate in mathematics.
I'm atrocious, but
it's true. Anyhow, So the short version of it is basically don't ask for more than you actually need.
Don't be greedy.
And don't take anything that you can tell your very hospitable host can't afford to give up. If they're tight on food, don't accept more than, a very moderate amount, because it's also rude to not accept their hospitality as well.
If all they've got is a loaf of bread and a bucket of soup, don't eat the entire loaf. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Pretty simple stuff, really.
But
you'd be surprised how often people don't notice, I say in little quotey fingers.
Yeah,
the little things.
They can't see that, by the way. I don't know. Alex,
that's why I was telling them.
Are you clairvoyant?
That's why I was telling them that I did little quotey
fingers. Are
you
you a wizard? Anyhow.
Can't take him anywhere, folks.
So, anyhow, you have several ways that you can basically be a bad guest. Being rude, other than, like Ulf and I call each other names all the time.
It's just part of how we show love.
Yeah, that's one thing. But being genuinely rude to your host, big no-no.
Yeah, like if they offer you a blanket and your response is, "Oh, that's scratchy," or "Oh, don't you have anything warmer?" People usually do their best.
Trick, I am giving you the best I've got.
Exactly. But I will say in defense, don't be a bad host either. If you've got a thin blanket and a thick blanket and you could give your guest either, don't be a jackhole. Give them a thick blanket.
Offer them both, because
we offer them both in case.
Because, like, personally, I sleep with as little covering me as possible.
Yeah. So, I mean, offer them which would you like.
Which would you like? Excuse me. But,
I actually have a relevant, very relevant story to that. My blood family, last time I went to visit them, I had an 8-month-old son, so it's been a long time.
Yes.
They turn off their heat at night in northern Indiana on a Great Lake. They plan for this, of course. They have lots of blankets. They have thick, heavy nightwear, stuff like that. I do not plan for this because I do not turn off my heat in the middle of the night.
Well, it's because we're civil people.
Yes.
And the idea that you should freeze yourself to death simply because you're less conscious of it is kind of stupid.
They gave me me and my son, by the way, a thin, slightly fuzzy fleece blanket. One.
For both of you. Yeah,
for
gotcha.
both of us. I woke up
and you wonder why I don't like your family.
Freezing my patootie off.
I bet.
And knowing that I was sleeping on the floor of somebody who had a thick, heavy comforter and multiple blankets underneath it, and that I did not feel welcome. That was not hospitable. They didn't really want me to be there.
Well, there was also the time that we went there, and they said that we couldn't stay in their house because we weren't married. Because, the Lord cares.
Yeah, you don't let you guys freeze because you're not married.
It'd be better that we be dead freezing. I mean, it wasn't cold then, but if it had been, we'd be better off dead in our car than, in their home. Heavens forbid, an unwed couple sleep in the same house. It's crazy.
Shocker.
Even though by that point we had a child. No, the boy wasn't born yet, but we'd been together for a while and living in the same. Yeah, I mean, we were sharing an 8x12 room.
And that's a pretty bad example, or good example of how to be a bad host.
Yeah.
And I believe Boli has some more story time of a story of bad guests.
Yeah. If you're in somebody's house, for one, I think it's fairly common here in the South that you don't bring food into someone's house unless you have enough for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, if there have been parameters set down, like we're all going to go Dutch tonight, that's different. But
yeah. My mom had actually kicked someone out of my home as a teenager because she showed up with Taco Bell and didn't have enough for everybody. And
I don't think I do that, and I do your mom around there.
yeah, I mean, it was Angela.
Okay.
She kicked Angela out. I mean, she didn't want me hanging out with Angela anyway.
Yeah, she thought she was a bad influence on you. When it was really the other way around.
I wouldn't go that far. She did end up with a Lucas.
Yeah, fair enough.
Anyhow. So that's one thing. You just shouldn't do that. But if you do, let's say your host doesn't mind. We'd had a guest here for a role-playing game, and the guest ordered food for themselves, even though things were tight here. They ordered more than they actually needed. And then when my son asked for a piece of their pizza, he was, 8 at the time? Mm-hmm. When my 8-year-old son, asked for a piece of pizza, my 8-year-old autistic son, mm-hmm. let's make sure everyone knows what's going on there. When he asked for a piece of pizza, this person told him no, that she bought it for herself, and ended up taking more of it home than they actually ate. So they were asked to not come back, and thankfully they've obliged.
And that was being a bad guest for a couple of reasons. I mean, for one, if I might steal something out of Boli's mouth that he said when we were discussing this pre-show, you do not deny a child food.
Ever.
You know? And I mean, child's going to eat probably a piece. Now, the way that boy puts away pizza, it might have been more, but seriously, what's it going to kill you to give a kid a piece of pizza?
But here's the thing. Even with all that, I guess you'd say stacked against him, he wouldn't have asked for more than one piece.
No, he wouldn't have. He asked if he could have a piece, and if they'd have given him a piece, even the smallest sliver they had, he'd have been happy.
Yep, he'd have taken it and went away.
Because A, it's pizza, which is like a food group for him, and B, somebody would have given him something, and that makes him very happy, actually.
Yeah. Well,
he likes to share, and he likes when people share with him. I know this about him.
He has 2 food groups, pizza and macaroni. And that's pretty much it.
I kind of agree with him there. Macaroni and cheese is a food group for me, too.
I wouldn't live off of it, but I was going to say, but, I have lived off what I call the ramen and hot dog diet. It's basically the bachelor diet.
I was going to say many of us as bachelors, and I'm sure bachelorettes, have lived off the hot dog and ramen diet. I'll get it right in a minute.
Or maybe the college diet.
Yeah. College kids have lived off that and probably less.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's when I was college age. Well, I was senior year of high school and then a little into it.
Not that this has anything to do with the episode, but for a while when I was in college,
when has that ever stopped us?
I lived off cold pizza and soft drinks as breakfast for at least a semester, I know.
Well, there was a point where I was basically my junior and senior year of high school, I was living on my own. And I only ate at school. And I would occasionally go to my girlfriend's house and have dinner with them. Actually, that was pretty rare, though.
We can actually tie that back around in hospitality, too, though, because they were hospitable enough to let you eat with them occasionally.
Even though they hated me?
Yeah, even though they did not like you. I remember that particular girlfriend. But they knew also that you didn't always get food otherwise, so that's part of why they were hospitable enough, even though they weren't exactly your biggest fans, to let you eat with them every now and then so that you had food.
Right. Well, I mean, that would be because basically I made it a point, and they knew this too, I made it a point to conserve what little food I had, because whenever she would spend the night at my house, on the weekends or whatever, I would make sure that I had food there for her.
Right.
So I didn't eat throughout the school week to make sure that she had food on the weekends.
Right.
But I mean, Scott and Coob practically lived at my house. They always ate when they were there.
Yeah.
They would come in when I wasn't home, which, by the way, is a good way to be a bad guest. They would break into my house, or into my apartment. It wasn't terribly hard to do. You could see the wedge of the lock from the outside because the door set so far away from the door frame.
Yes.
It was just the house. The building that it was in was meant to be like a one-person home, but all the homes here are pretty huge.
Uh-huh.
Like most of the homes in this neighborhood, the older ones are really big. It was an interior door, probably just meant to have a doorway, not an actual door, kind of thing.
And they had mounted a door there, basically.
Yeah, and it was
had turned it into apartments.
The building was, I want to say, like 110 years old at that point.
Something like it. It was a pretty old building.
That's back in 95. Yeah.
95, 96, yeah.
Well, yeah, 94, 95.
94, 95, okay.
Yeah. So
I was on the wrong end of the split.
yeah. But, so again, that's a bad way, or a good way to be a bad guest, is to go into your host's home when they're not there.
But I guess it's a good way to be a good host in that you were like, oh, hey, hi guys, you know, when you got home.
I know, they would usually be gone before I got there because...
And keep in mind, folks, these are our friends.
Yeah, they were skipping school and going to my place while I was, at school. So they would have to leave before I got home because they would have to also be heading home from school.
Right.
So, yeah, whatever.
It was fairly common in high school for me, for whenever my dad went grocery shopping, my brother would invite all his friends over and they'd have it eat all the food party. So also...
Your brother's an idiot.
That's horrible hospitality.
Also quite a dick move and very much bad hospitality.
Yeah, I mean, it's your brother trying to play it being hospitable to his friends, but it's bad hospitality for your friends to come in and knowingly eat the food. Like
Chris was a jerk, and so was all his friends.
Eat the food at marathon. Oh, I remember.
Yeah, it was fun. It was something they did for fun, was deprive us as
basically
food.
Because their parental figure made more money than he knew what to do with. I mean, he spent it poorly.
But he was also lazy, so after he went grocery shopping once, he wouldn't do it again for another 2 or 3 weeks. So,
even if the house was empty.
So, if they ate all the food, they would go out to eat, and those of us who went home, rode the bus home after school, would have no food to eat.
Oh my God. They,
See, we could probably do bad hospitality.
We could do a whole episode about how shitty that setting is as far as, not really all the virtues. I bet I could nitpick the hell out of that, 6 months I lived there?
Yeah. And, I was in and out of that environment quite a bit during that time, too.
Yeah.
Knowing you guys in that part of your life. So, yeah, I can think of several of the
by the way.
virtues that were pooped on, basically.
Yeah.
There. So, anywho, hospitality goes both ways. Don't be a schnozzle. As I say about a lot of the virtues, I like to say that all of our virtues really wrap up into breaking down to be a good person, don't be a dick.
Yeah.
I gotta use bad language on that one, but...
you could say that, though, about basically every religion's
code of ethics,
commandments, whatever.
Yeah.
It comes down to don't be dumb, try to be a good person.
Be excellent to each other.
Really, that's the only commandment you need.
Yeah, the Wild Stallions really got it in one.
Yeah.
And if you don't know who that is, go watch a movie.
You're too young to listen to this show.
At least until you go watch Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Don't bother with their Bogus Journey. Just watch their Excellent Journey. But the Excellent Adventure is much better. And I wish they did the third one they keep talking about.
George Carlin would be why that was...
Yeah.
He was certainly my favorite part in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and also Dogma.
Indeed.
Cardinal Glick. Anyhow, Cardinal Glick was a bad host. He didn't offer anyone there a cigarette or any of his bourbon.
Yeah, he didn't offer them any kind of drink. Actually, if I recall, he didn't even ask them to have a seat in that scene.
Well, they were already sitting, so maybe...
Were they? Okay.
Yeah, he wasn't. The scene started with him up walking around playing golf in his office. Because that's...
You've seen that a little too many times, I think.
Shut up. So, yeah. But, and honestly, as a comedian, George Carlin was not really all that funny. I loved his comedic work
poignant
in movies and stuff, but...
Carlin, to me, I mean, I guess we're way off topic here, but was more poignant than funny.
Yeah, he took what every comedian does, which is complaining, and made it an art form, for sure.
He laid the way for guys like Louis Black and Louis C.K.
Yeah. And
names aside there, I mean, they wouldn't do the style of comedy they did if it weren't for Carlin.
Right. And everyone gets into the airliner food and stuff like that. Everyone does that stuff eventually. Yeah. But, yeah.
I'm sorry, I just had a thought to tie back into our topic. and a little into a current event.
Yeah.
Talk about bad hospitality.
Oh, crap.
The airline.
United.
Yeah. For those who don't know, and probably all of our listeners know.
By the way, this is why I just choose to teleport everywhere.
Yeah, because it's easier. Because for those who don't know, United Airline basically came on a flight one day, the security folk.
You know this is all going to be old news by the time this airs.
Yeah, but we have a captive audience, so they're going to listen. And at that, we just lost our one listener for the night, probably.
Bye, Alex.
Anywho, they come on a flight and they say, we need, I believe it was 4 people to give up seats. What they said at first was, we've overbooked. We need 4 people to volunteer to give up seats. We'll give you $400 and a hotel room to stay in until the next flight.
And a voucher for
the next flight. Nobody wanted to give up their seats for whatever reason. Okay, so they up it and say, we'll give you $800 and these other things.
Right.
Still nobody wanted to give up. I know there's something you want to say on this particular point there,
Well, yeah.
Boli.
I was going to say, at that point, in the beginning, they were actually being pretty good, hospitable hosts.
Yeah, this part is good hospitality.
By offering all of that, the passengers, for one reason or another, were being bad guests. Because there had to be at least 4 people on that plane that were not in dire emergencies to get to where they were going.
Yeah, they could have waited.
Yeah, and you were only talking about, a 16-hour layover or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Sucks, but you're getting a free hotel room and $800 cash.
Plus your flight back.
And plus the ticket you just lost.
But not everybody could afford to take that.
No, but in a plane with 56 passengers, there had to be at least 4 people. Because it didn't say that all the seats had to be together or anything else.
They just needed. Now, what it turned out to be they did flib a little. When I say flib, I mean fib. A little, because what they actually needed for was they had flight personnel, pilots and things, who wanted to get to Chicago or needed to get to Chicago. Or no, it was to Louisville from Chicago. Here from Chicago. And so they needed the seats for them to fly back.
But they do usually build that into if they know they're going to have anyone, and those were last minute things.
Yeah, they didn't plan
so
for it.
So it was an overbooking, and it was an oversight.
It was in fact a major overbooking. And so where it flips around and they become bad hosts is here, because when no one volunteered, they said, okay, we're going to pick 4 of you and you're off. Well, 3 of the people that they chose begrudgingly got up, grumbled. They were still going to get the rewards, supposedly. So they grumbled and got off, left their seats. Well, there was one gentleman whom they picked out, who said, no, I cannot do that. I am a doctor. I have to be back in the city I'm going to perform surgeries and things the next month. I work at the hospital.
Yeah, he had to work at a hospital.
Had to be at the hospital. Okay, I agree that's pretty important. And at that point,
they could have
said, okay, you're a doctor, we'll pick someone else.
Now, that, however, does bug me in that I hate seeing people get special treatment just for whatever job they do.
But in this case, I agree with it, because if he really did have to be at a hospital to do rounds or whatever, I think that supersedes most of the things.
Dude,
I think you and I are on opposite sides of this thing.
I have seen doctors miss work for way less. I once encountered a doctor who, and I kid you not, I swear if I'm lying, I'm dying, said that he was going to replace his car because the battery was dead. And I'm like, we can just jump it.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Or replace the battery.
Just the battery, or worse, replace the battery. That's it.
He didn't know where the battery was in his car. It wasn't under the trunk, or under the hood, which is common. But
right.
That's where it is.
Yeah, it can be designed in other places.
His was in the trunk because he had all these other gadgets in his car.
Okay, interesting.
And that coincidentally is what ran down his battery. But anyhow,
wow,
I was being hospitable and jumping his car for him. But I hate seeing someone get special treatment just because of whatever job they do. In my eyes, the janitor and the president of the company are due the same level of respect.
I do agree with that, but like I said, in this case, I agree that if the man was needed at a hospital, it was understandable to let him stay on the flight.
Now, one of the things that I definitely disagree with was there was no fact-checking done. Many of the media outlets ran his first and last name, which is apparently very common from wherever this gentleman was from, like his name was. And they're like, oh, well, he had drug charges and blah, blah, blah. No, he didn't. That was someone completely different.
They happened to have the same name, John Smith or whatever.
Yeah.
It was that common.
They pulled this man's name out of a hat and tried to smear him over his defiance of the airliner.
Yeah, because
that's what has bothered me the most out of this entire story. The United's actions were completely unconscionable and shouldn't have
very
happened.
unconscionable, yeah.
But the media afterwards trying to smear this guy.
Yeah, the media's trying to make it 10 times
implying
worse.
that he deserved
to be dragged off a plane.
Yeah, because it's a complete story for those, like we said, for those who haven't heard it. When this gentleman repeatedly told them no, security pulled him up out of his seat, beat him, I believe, to unconsciousness. I know he was bleeding, and drug him down the aisle off the plane.
From what I could tell, the bleeding happened.
It was a blow to the head.
Well, he hit his head on the way out of the plane. Like he hit it on one of the seats as they were dragging him. So I don't think it was a forceful blow to the head. They were dragging him out. But here's the thing. At that point, I understand you have every right to protest and everything else, but it is a privately owned vehicle, essentially. And if they tell you to leave, you just leave. You take whatever it is they're offering. You get off the damn boat,
and you
go to your hotel, and then sue them later for making you miss work.
And then
that is actually what should have happened.
What's really almost sadly, darkly comedic at the end of this story is because of the violence and the bloodshed that happened, they had to clear the whole plane off, clean it up, put everybody back on. And when they did, the gentleman that got bloodied and everything got back on the plane and flew back to Louisville in the long run anyway. But that story is just, there's bad hospitality all over that story.
On both sides of it.
And it does just get worse because, as Michelle Lee pointed out, the airline tried to say, oh, it was his fault and blah, blah, blah. And the media has taken it and tried to smear this guy. I don't know if they're trying to earn free flight points with the company or what. Frequent flyer miles maybe. And tried to smear this guy to no avail. All they've really done is help his case in the long run.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's going to end up getting some money out of that.
A side note is, unfortunately, this is the same thing we do whenever somebody has been shot by the police, is we then look for every reason that they deserved it.
Yeah, usually people who are shot by the police are, what's the word I'm looking for? Criminals. Yeah.
About 9.5 times out of 10.
If you tell me that giant jackass Michael Brown didn't deserve to be shot, we can't be friends anymore.
We've already been through this. I think his actions were, the officer's actions were justifiable. He believed his life was in danger.
Well, not only his, everyone around him.
Right.
That's 72 rounds worth of ammunition that monster would have then turned on the public.
But there have been other cases. The gentleman in New York who was killed in the back of a police van, he was selling loose cigarettes. That's it. That is not worth being hit by police and thrown in the back of a...
It's also not worth resisting either.
No,
because where he lived, he knew it was illegal. It's not worth beating someone over. But resisting arrest does get you beaten. I hate to say it, but that's a fact of life. You don't want to get beat up by a cop? Don't break the law.
Don't resist. Just go, all right, fine, here's the loose cigarettes I have.
I'm talking about the aspect of the media afterwards searching for some... It's
by virtue of what we're doing here, we are media.
Yes. But there is I can't remember what it's called now, but it's a psychological a truth theory that says that there are people believe that you get what you deserve in life. And
that's a decidedly American idea.
But a lot of it is not. You don't. Some things are just random. Some things are just how people interact with each other.
Well, this is why I don't believe in karma, because we have the Cheeto in charge. He's a terrible person.
And
as Cheetos tend to be bad people.
And doesn't seem to be getting any karmic backlash from it.
Yeah. Instead, he's making money hand over fist. He's holding the second highest position in America. And, there's no karmic backlash here.
Pissing all over everything.
Especially himself.
No.
Hey, hookers. Trying to seek out justification. Someone having a drug past, someone having been accused of murder in the past does not justify someone randomly running down the street and punching them
No. Well, that brings us back to the whole let's go punch a Nazi movement. As much as I dislike Nazis
and would like to punch them,
you still have no right to physically accost someone who is merely expressing or using their First Amendment rights to express themselves.
Yeah, if they're just out there saying things, as hateful as those things might be,
right,
you're not making things any better by punching them.
Hate speech is not a corporal punishment level crime.
Right.
But
and we shouldn't have to justify
punching Nazis. I know. But anyhow, no, we're semi off track.
A tiny bit, but not as much as we often
usually are. But we are going to go ahead and wrap this up.
Wrap it up.
I take it. Ooh, that should be the song I use for this one. All right. So anyhow, this has been Hospitality as loosely as we can, as our shows ever go.
Right.
Next week.
Thank you for doing us the hospitality of listening.
Exactly.
We certainly appreciate it.
Yeah. Next show
will be
on something else, I'm sure.
On the radio, definitely.
Well, it's the internet. It's not so much the radio.
Well, the interweb radios.
Yeah, whatever. Why are you saying words to me?
Interwebio.
Anyhow, it will be in 2 weeks, and we'll cover another one of the virtues, I'm sure.
That's the plan, since we have a few left.
Yes, but please do contact us at ThisWyrdRoad on Facebook and ThisWyrdRoad@gmail.com. You can also reach us at the PTRN listener line, which is 276-5665.
Call or write us. Give us your opinions. Make your voice heard. We actually want to hear these things from you.
Yeah, you could really just tell us whatever you want. The next one will be self-reliance, by the way. I had to
we already did self-discipline.
No. Discipline and self-reliance are different things.
That is true. They're close, but... So self-reliance in 2 weeks.
Later, taters.
Love you, folks. Take care.
Bye-bye.